Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art and culture, and this is Billboard Breakdown. So okay, here's an interesting hypothetical for all of you. Presume you're an artist who's just scheduled to release your album, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, one of your competition drops a critically acclaimed mixtape / album that gains him a ton of buzz, usurping all yours. I mean, you're gonna be angry, you're annoyed. Without warning, he seems to have stolen all of your thunder. So, do you delay your album? Well, it's an interesting question, but it appears by staying the course, Big Sean got interesting results on the charts. Simply put, Drake was riding a wave of hype that managed to launch 10 songs off his new album on the charts, and when they inevitably started to fade away, something had to replace them. Now, sure, Big Sean would have impacted the chart with his album anyways, but I argue he wouldn't have lodged as many tracks as he did. And unlike Drake, the songs that Big Sean got charting were the best ones from his album. I might not entirely like Big Sean, but you know what? I gotta give him some props here, even if some of it was just pure luck. But before we get to all that in detail, let's talk about our top 10, where there were a lot of small shifts, paying more on the margins. Now the top 2, prime example. Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars, it did top sales and continues to run airplay and do well in streaming, but its airplay gains were roughly equivalent to Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud, which slipped on YouTube and was just coming up short in sales and streaming, not enough to knock it out. It was still enough to block Maroon 5's Sugar from rising beyond number 3. And once again, pretty solid week across the board with its gains. Not all that much of a surprise there. It was enough to unseat Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding to number 4, which might be dominant on streaming, but still's being held back thanks to lower airplay, not quite rising fast enough. Beneath that, we've got 4-5 Seconds by Rihanna, Kanye West, and Paul McCartney, making a recovery to number 5 thanks to good sales and really strong airplay, but it's handicapped by weaker streaming and not a great video on YouTube. And it was enough to push Take Me to Church by Hozier back a step to number 6, which might still have some strength in streaming, but it's fading on airplay and on sales. Probably won't last much longer, and it probably won't be long before it's overtaken by Taylor Swift's Style. But while there, it's a numbers game, because while that song's picking up a lot of airplay, YouTube and sales haven't been as strong, which is kind of sad because I think the YouTube video is probably her best. Now, it was enough to shove Blank Space by Taylor Swift back a peg to number 8, which is still folding on thanks to being absolutely huge on YouTube and failing everywhere else. Beneath that though, the big surprise for me was Earned It by The Weeknd, which is holding onto his slot thanks to sizable sales and huge streaming, yet little airplay or pretty much nothing on YouTube. I almost get the feeling that nobody marketing the song expected it to be any sort of hit. I mean, that's easy to understand, I didn't expect a hit either. And at this point, it's probably less related to the 50 Shades of Grey phenomenon and more tied to the song itself being liked, which does make a twisted sort of sense because the song practically has nothing to do with 50 Shades of Grey. Finally, our new arrival at number 10 is Time of Our Lives by Pitbull and Neo, otherwise known as Give Me Everything Part 2, the good one this time. No complaints here, honestly. It's been hovering below the top 10 for weeks now. I've been expecting it to hop in. It's a good enough song, and despite having no real YouTube presence, I'm happy it snagged a slot, if only just for 1 week. So now on to our dropouts and our losers, and there were a lot this week. Well, okay, more on the losers side. 2 major dropouts were Tuesday by I Love McConan and Drake, and Habit Stay High by Tove Lo, both songs that have reached the end of their run naturally. One of the songs was terrible, one was excellent. It shouldn't be hard to guess which is which. Now, where there was more activity this week was in our losers. I mean, some were cases of continued losses, like Only One by Kanye West and Paul McCartney slipping to 92, Stuck on a Feeling by Prince Royce and Snoop Dogg dropping to 88, and The Heart Wants What It Wants by Selena Gomez continuing its plummet to 61. Others were songs that they're just on their way out from natural causes, like Bang Bang by Jessie J, Ariana Grande, and Nicki Minaj falling to 50, and will likely be out next week, and Sundays by Flora George Line slipping to 69. They really should have released that song as a summer single. It just won't fly as well in the winter. Others are cases where the previous gains just didn't make enough of an impact to really last, like 10 Bands and Energy by Drake falling to 73 and 40 respectively. And I Bet My Life by Imagine Dragons continuing its wild chart run by dropping to 47. From there, the only other major losers were I See You by Luke Bryan falling to 67. Makes a certain amount of sense given it's a late single from an album dropped in 2013, and it's probably going to be replaced by a song off his Spring Break mixtape that he's dropping in a few days. And I Live by One Republic going to 74, a song that isn't nearly interesting enough to have lasted as long as it did. Now, there are a lot fewer gains this week, and most of them are fairly easy to predict. I mean, Blessings by Big Sean and Drake going to 36, and Heartbeat Song by Kelly Clarkson rising to 37, that's because of album hype and album releases. And Glory by John Legend and Common, it's thanks to it winning the Academy Award. And from there, though, the other gains are a little trickier. Lay Me Down by Sam Smith is the first example as it recovers to 62, but I think it's more of a case of a song song that should have held on to its position in the first place, just kind of oscillating a little there. Slow Motion by Trey Songz, a good enough track, I'm happy to see it charting, but it shooting up to 77, a little bit strange. It's an unassuming song. The big shocker for me was Trap Queen by Fetty Wap rocketing up to 16, because outside of streaming, I have no idea where it's getting so much presence. Once again, of ignorant trap-flavored hip-hop, there's a lot worse on the charts right now, and I'll take this over Coco any day of the week, but still, the success of this song, kinda bizarre to me. But you know what, enough of those. Let's talk about our returning entries, starting with...
You want me just as much. I got a girl crush.
Okay, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to see this back on the charts, but it's a little bit odd that it is. I'm guessing it's only thanks to YouTube streams for the lyric video, which is fine enough, but I stand by what I said when I covered this song a few weeks ago. There are better songs that Little Big Town could have chosen off of Painkiller for their follow-up single, The Day Drinking, and this, I'm sorry, it's not one of them. I do not understand why this song came back and not Uma Thurman. I mean, come on, Fall Out Boy. Immortals was below average even for soundtrack fodder, and Centuries will not last long forever on the charts. I'll reiterate my advice to you. Get a good video put together, maybe hire the real Uma Thurman, forget the Wiz Khalifa remix, it's pointless, and push that instead of this. I promise you, it will chart. You just gotta do it before the fire runs out. And that's our returning entries. Now onto our long list of new arrivals. Starting with number 99, Paradise by Big Sean.
I always wanted to stunt so hard. I always wanted to ride that whip.
Song surprises me, if only because it contains a lot of elements that wouldn't otherwise work for me under any circumstances. Production from Mike Will made it, awkward pitch-shifted vocals, Big Sean bragging about himself, the presence of Big Sean, but honestly, I don't mind Paradise, easily one of the better songs off of Dark Sky Paradise. I'm sorry, that album title's still awful. The beat has a lot of ominous presence thanks to the stormy production, low horn line, and crackling synth, and though Big Sean does have a couple of awkward bars, and his flow change-ups definitely raised my eyebrows at a couple points, he did actually have some solid punchlines here I did like. Once again, I think my biggest issue with Big Sean is his inflection in delivery, or the nasal, oh god. It's easier to overlook when he actually has some decent bars behind him. In other words, pretty good song, I'll take it. Number 98, Watch Me by Silento.
Now watch me whip, whip, watch me nay-nay. Why me do it? Now watch me whip.
Man, I miss the days when rappers making dumbass dance tracks had voices with real presence and power. I mean, Lil Jon might not have written intelligent songs, but he was a lot easier to like than this guy, who sounds like a cross between Ray Shrimmer and Soulja Boy, and who actually makes references to Soulja Boy and the stanky leg in his song in 2015. And I could go on about how his painfully thin yelp for us to watch him doesn't work when we can't actually see what he's doing. He doesn't describe it all that well, which makes it the Nickelback photograph problem all over again. But I think the larger problem is that even by the standards of party dance songs, it's painfully underwritten and really lazy. This song would not exist without the other dance songs that it steals from. It doesn't even make them sound half appealing. Soulja Boy might have been asinine and Stanky Leg might have been borderline unlistenable. I guarantee that the majority of you have not listened to that song from the GS Boys since it dropped, because trust me, it's bad. But you know what? At least they had a crunk chorus and heavier beats than this. Once again, we got another song that's only famous because of virality on YouTube, or more likely Vine, and it should be forgotten as quickly as possible because it's goddamn awful. Next, number 97, One Man Can Change the World by Big Sean featuring Kanye West and John Legend.
And when you get it all, just remember one day,
Another one of those songs from Big Sean that I actually kind of liked, but really your tolerance for this track will come down to how much you can really like Big Sean or Kanye West singing with all the auto-tune that you would expect, and Big Sean's unabashed earnestness and honestly a little bit of corniness. Because let's be blunt, there's some rough spots on this track. The Kim line in the first verse, the fact they only got Kanye for the song for him to sing and no verse, but to Big Sean's credit, there's real humility here as he filters the Mo Money, Mo Problems song into a track more focused on realizing how great he really does have it and being grateful for it all, especially drawing the comparison to his grandmother who was a captain in World War II and faced much harder struggles than he ever would. And that line he has about Jim Carrey and getting famous off of wearing masks, that's honestly a pretty solid line that implies there could really be more to Big Sean. Now granted, having heard the album, I know he doesn't show it, but you know what? It's nice to get a glimpse of something. Number 93, Raise 'Em Up by Keith Urban featuring Eric Church.
It's just the way
whiskey glass if you ain't making a toast.
Past year has taught me anything about Keith Urban is that for a pop country artist, he's doing a lot of things right. Yeah, he's still very much part of the Nashville songwriting machine, and yeah, a lot of his music has a very strong pop flavor with electronic elements and backbeats, but you know what? He's one of the few people who does it well. His production is top-notch. He always keeps a melody from either his guitar or steel guitar prominent. He's got a ton of charisma and works with good songwriters, and he always gives a lot of props to indie country acts who could use the support, like say Sturgill Simpson. Guys like Keith Urban and Jaco and make very polished, very radio-friendly music. Don't get me wrong there. But songs like Cop Car prove that there are a place for it because they're damn good songs. As such, when Keith Urban sent this song to Eric Church for a duet partner, Eric Church was floored by its quality, and for good reason, because it's really good. Even though I'd argue that Raise 'Em Up isn't one of the best songs on that album, for a late album single, it's still pretty damn great. Excellent, spacious production that shows exactly how good country can sound modern, with a lot of texture, solid performances from both guys, and lyrics that do push the more conservative, patriotic button, but do so in a way that's not overbearing or patronizing or pandering, which I really like. I'm not sure yet if this will be another hit for Keith Urban. It's his 6th single off of Fuse, which dropped late in 2013 when I reviewed it, but you know what? I wouldn't have a problem if this was a hit, so great job. Number 90, Smoke by 1,000 Horses. Okay, as effectively the only critic who really covers country music on YouTube, it's weird when a country band charts, and I've never heard of them before, especially when they sound like this. For one, they don't have the stereotypical bro country sound or image. Even the subject matter of their song doesn't exactly rise above either. This song is basically focused on, hey, this girl is intoxicatingly hot. I honestly think they probably could have done a little bit more with the whole smoke metaphor than they do on this song, maybe describing her as tempestuous or capricious, and the sound and the production is very early to mid-2000s country rock, which kind of wears a little thin on me. But overall, the song's passable. Nothing spectacular, but I've definitely heard worse on country radio, so I'll take it. Number 89, Nobody Love by Tori Kelly. It's always a little bit weird talking about other YouTubers on the chart, but I'm not exactly going to complain that they're here. I mean, Team Internet. For those of you who don't know, Tori Kelly originally got her start very young on YouTube before eventually auditioning for American Idol, which went precisely nowhere. So, in a good move, she went back to YouTube, released a few EPs, started working with Bieber's manager, Scooter Braun, was featured on a Professor Green track that was absolutely huge in the UK, but did pretty much nothing in the States, and now she's working to get her debut single off the ground. So this is the lead-off single. It's actually pretty good. Her vocal delivery reminds me a lot of Christina Aguilera and Ariana Grande. Hell, with all the horns and very minimalist beat over the chorus, the comparison to Problem, it's inevitable. But it's going more towards soul than straightforward pop, which I think is a pretty good choice. Now, I do got a couple nitpicks here. That noodling sax doesn't really fit on the back half of the chorus, and the lyrics are honestly pretty forgettable and generic, but overall, pretty good. I think its success will depend on how long the radio really embraces horn-driven melodies like it has this year thus far. But overall, there's potential here. I like this song. Number 83, You Are in Love by Taylor Swift. I think Taylor Swift's tactic of drip-feeding her bonus tracks as singles to the radio might have some adverse side effects, especially considering she's fought so hard to pull every other version of this song off of YouTube. With this case, I'm a little baffled as to why she bothered, because this song is the definition of bonus disc material. Ephemeral, inessential, a pretty basic love song that really doesn't have a lot to it. I mean, they meet, they fall in love, with Taylor Swift writing nearly all the song in the second person so that the audience can easily insert themselves into it. That's it. But you know what? There's so little to this song, I don't see it making a huge connection. I mean, sure, it's not a bad song, but it is forgettable. I can't see this lasting on the charts. Skip it. Number 80, All Your Fault by Big Sean featuring Kanye West.
Lit for your love, baby, lit for your love.
Man, I want to like this song a lot more than I do. I mean, the production balances its soulful sample on the hook with a lot of bombast on the verses thanks to the backing chorus. Kanye and Big Sean trade off bars really well in that third verse that show off some real skill. But god damn it, Kanye, you needed to do a draft on that first verse because it's uneven as hell, as I said in the review. The positive comparison of yourself to Tom Cruise, which again makes made too much sense for all the wrong reasons, followed by a comparison to Walt Disney, a couple references there that actually isn't bad. But then you follow that by jacking the hook from I Don't Give give a fuck, and then comparing you tearing up the city because you're so awesome to violent protests against Eric Garner that never really happened. Okay, look, there's a time and place for you to get political, Kanye, and this was not it. You know what? The damn shame is that Big Sean's verse is actually pretty good once he really gets going. And as I said, I like the third verse where he and Kanye were trading off bars. Once again, this song is decent enough, but god damn it, it should have been a whole lot better. Number 71, You're So Beautiful by the Empire Cast featuring Jussie, Smollett, and Yazz. So no, I still haven't had a chance to start watching Empire yet. I'm still trying to catch up on House of Cards, work full time, and put out 5 videos a week. Give me a little bit. So this is only my second exposure to the show or its music. And talk about the sort of song that immediately makes me curious to see a hell of a lot more. For starters, there's 2 versions of the song. The one done by Terrence Howard in an earlier episode, and the one that his son co-ops to come out of the closet. And the latter, easily superior, creating a very slick R&B track that reminds me a lot of very early Usher, balancing a lot of smooth charm with real intensity behind it. If I do have an issue with the song, it probably comes with a few of the lyrics, playing very much of the One Direction, What Makes You Beautiful brand of pseudo-empowerment early on until it's viciously subverted later in the track, and I do think the bass and the synth line over the course is a little bit flat as it comes from the production being rushed out for a TV show, but otherwise, yeah, apparently I've got another reason to watch Empire now, because this song, it's great. Number 66, First Kiss by Kid Rock. Okay, seriously, is Kid Rock still relevant? I thought we gave this guy his moment in the starlight to the mid to late 2000s and we all just moved on. But apparently he dropped a new album, for which I actually got requests to cover, and this is the lead-off single. And actually, it's pretty good. In fact, this reminds me a lot of the reason Kid Rock had a career in the first place. The guy had a shocking amount of charisma for being such an obvious sleazeball, and his voice had a surprising amount of grit and texture. Granted, I'm not exactly sure it's enough to really elevate the song. I mean, sure, it's nice to see a song with a real hard rock guitar like this isn't afraid to get rough and fiery, which I really liked, but you could tell that Kid Rock's biting very much into the lucrative template of late period Bon Jovi or Bryan Adams, the subject matter that's more about reminiscing than actually doing anything now. And yeah, it's not anything that rock radio hasn't done for decades or more here. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm still a fan of hard rock, and while I know this song isn't gonna chart for shit or make any real changes to the charts, it's nice to see it here. Overall, I'll take it. And finally, number 17, I Want You to Know by Zedd featuring Selena Gomez. I was expecting more from this track. I mean, I don't think I've ever really talked about Zedd in the past, but that's because as a producer, he's never really blown my mind. Yes, All of You Clarity was a good song, but I give more credit to Foxes than him because neither Stay the Night with Hayley Williams or Break Free with Ariana Grande did a lot for me. And now he's swapped them all out with Selena Gomez with one of his least impressive productions to date. As EDM goes, it feels about 2 years out of date for one, especially with his blatant auto-tune, glitchy production, and synth melody that doesn't really do a lot that's all that interesting. And look, I like Selena Gomez, but she's the last person you want paired with Zedd. Quite frankly, she doesn't have the pipes to match him with the synth tone. She's better working in slinky, stripped-back pop music than this mid-range, saturated mess that's only distinctive for that double crack during the keyboard solo. And look, EDM is nowhere near as big on the charts as it was a few years ago, and I really don't see Zedd prolonging his relevance with this song. Just saying. So yeah, that's our list for this week. And honestly, there's a lot here to really like, and it's hard for me to pick a top song. So with that, I'm gonna do something special. No dishonorable mention this week, instead 2 honorable mentions. And they're gonna be One Man Can Change the World by Big Sean featuring Kanye West and John Legend, and First Kiss by Kid Rock, with the top slot going easily to Keith Urban and Eric Church, Raise Them Up. Now this was done because I want to highlight the fact that Watch Me by Silento is a goddamn turd of the highest order. Forget worst of the week, this might be one of the worst songs that I've ever covered on this show. Please, God, don't let this become huge. We already had Coco this year. We don't need another song in that vein. Just saying. But you know what? Let's hope that doesn't happen, and let's hope for next week, because until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.